sisters, students of Jesus, daddies, propagators, inviters to the truth. All of you, we're happy to see you here today. And pray that Allah will guide us, give us the right understanding of what we will be discussing for this first session with you here at the Masjid, Mohammed in Newark, New Jersey. And we want this to be beneficial for all of us. And so what I think was worth best is that I will discuss some things myself, concepts in religion, and then occasionally if you read Quran too, we'll make some commentary, comments on Quran. I will just discuss some concepts and then give the other half of the time for discussion, questions and discussion. I thought on this occasion today to talk to the Quran as the correction on previous books expressed in the Quran. This Quran contains books in their correct form. Kutubun qayyibat. Kutubun qayyibat. Now we have Quran here, so someone can get it from you, right?
1994.
No, that's right. That's right. So here, but do this one here. Do this one while I can keep talking and you can get it from me. Yeah. So this expression in the Quran, that the Quran contains books. It means books. Books in their correct form. This is addressed to the people of the book directly, and to all people, because the Prophet came to give the message of Islam to all people. But it is to the people of the book directly that the Quran contains the book in that correctly. Would the Arabs have known anything about this? They weren't people of the book. The Arabs were not people of the book, so how could they know about this? See? About books being in that correct state or in that incorrect state. They were not people of the book. They were not people who had received scripture. So that statement would mean nothing at all to them until they were taught. They would have to be taught first. Then that statement would mean something to them. But any person of the book, Christians, who were in the reach of the prophet's voice, or Jews, also in the reach of the prophet's voice, they would understand what he talked about. You see, those who were students of Scripture, who were acquainted with the Scriptures, the Bible, the Old Testament, the Torah, with the Gospel, the Injil, if they were acquainted with those books, when the prophet spoke this or said this, they would understand, but the Arabs would not understand unless the prophet had taught them or someone had taught them. They would understand. They are called in the Quran the Ummiyun people. Ummiyun. And Ummiyun means that they did not know Scripture. They were not readers. They were not people who were reading Scripture. Scripture had been read to them. No, they had not received Scripture. And Allah says that in the Quran too. And he's a messenger of peace. The Prophet Mohammed came to a people who had not received Scripture before. That's the Arab people. The Arab people. That was his audience. That was the Prophet's big audience. And we have to visualize that time where when the Prophet was just coming among them, just speaking to them, and just coming among them as a messenger of God. You have to visualize that time, and with the information that is in the Quran. But the information is that those people had not received any messenger from God. They didn't know Scripture. They hadn't received Scripture. So these statements would mean absolutely nothing to them unless they had been taught and explained, and had been explained to them by the Prophet or someone who knew Scripture. Even the Prophet's companions, they didn't know Scripture. They weren't familiar with Scripture. All of it was new to them. They weren't stupid people. I would say they were very intelligent people, and they weren't, I would say, uneducated people. By the standards, by the rules of that time, Abu Bakr was an educated person, and Uthman was an educated person, and many others were educated people. Ali was very young, but he was very brilliant, very bright-minded. And the voice, when Quran began to be recited in his ears, that God was pleased with the companions of the Prophet, our Prophet, Jesus, blessed be upon him. But even though they were intelligent, very intelligent, extremely intelligent, the companions of the Prophet, they were not readers of Scripture. They were not familiar with the Bible, with the Old Testament, with the Torah, the Gospel, the Injil. They were not familiar with these things. All this was new to them. And it was new to the prophets too, himself, new to the prophets. With that expression that the Quran contains these books, not only that expression, many expressions in the Quran. These expressions are expressions that the people of the book would be familiar with, would have been familiar with, and not the Arabs that the Prophet Muhammad was a member of that group of people. Not them. They wouldn't understand it unless they were taught first by the Prophet, and it had been explained to them, then they would understand it. So the Prophet he said in his last speech, those who are present, give it to those who are absent. Perchance, some of them may understand the same than you. Right? So that's an indication. Even now, this is the end of his. This is at the end of his mission. He had taught them and among them and read and taught them Quran. They were reciting Quran there, and still that statement was made. So that tells us that even at that time, the book, because of the nature of the book, the nature of revelation, it addresses revelation. Revelation addresses revelation. Because of the nature of the book, even his people at that time were not expected to be the ones who would be masters of the Quran and would do everything for the world, or do everything for the nations in terms of spreading it and preaching it and everything. The statement of the Prophet indicates that there may be people coming later who will do more with the Quran than you. And God, listen, God says in the Quran, Allah says in the Quran, that is what. They ask the people of the book, question the people of the book regarding these things. If you have some doubt, I mean, the Arabs, they have no previous background. They have no background in the scriptures. So he's telling them, you don't know how to judge these matters. You don't know how to judge the value, the weight of this matter. Because you're not people of the book. You haven't received scriptures. Your fathers are not teachers of the readers and teachers of scripture. So if you doubt me, that prophet speaking, God speaking to them from the prophet. If you doubt the prophet, ask the people of the book. They will verify that these things are true. You'll find among them people with knowledge of these things. And they will be a witness on my side that this is true in the scripture. And isn't that the natural way things happen? Some of us, we think we can handle this old teachers of all the like Muhammad, and we be trying to impress the people with the people all right Muhammad. And we have to turn to somebody else because people in the audience, they can't say it right or wrong half the time, right? They don't know. They don't have the experience. They can't say yes or no. So they say, you don't believe it? Check with Brother James. I've never been around since he started. So we refer to somebody else so they have faith and say, well, okay, we have a witness, you got a witness. So the witnesses, the prophet's witnesses were those people who had received scripture before. They were his witnesses. Because God had sent him in a line of prophets, in the line of prophecy, with the scripture, with the final scripture, that continues and addresses the scriptures that came before. It continues those scriptures and it addresses the scriptures that came before. This is the Quran. This is God. It's not me saying this. I'm telling you what Allah says in the Quran. So, Kutubun Ayyara, so look at that. If you got it, the chapter is chapter 98. Bayyana. These are my description classes. I intend to get it all corrected right here. As a brother, right. In the business, honestly, how we call this there. And my other ones, I list things that I don't have. But these are really the best ones I can get the prescription. I'll begin at the beginning. And I'll read this translation. I'll read that translation. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Those who disbelieve among the people of the book, I hope you can hear me now. I'll begin the first verse again. Those who disbelieve among the people of the book and among the polytheists were not going to depart from their ways until there should come to them clear evidence. Messenger from Allah, rehearsing scripture, kept pure and holy, wherein are books right and straight. That's the third verse. Wherein are books right and straight. Fiha kutubun qayyimah. Now, this is where we begin. I'll begin out. Fiha kutubun qayyimah. Now, He has. In it, right? He has. Means in it. Or if you're talking about living people, persons, then it's in her. But we're talking about, not talking about persons. The rest of here is to scripture, so it says he has. Now, Kutubun Kayyimat, as I said, Kutub is the plural of Kitab. Kitab is one book. Kutub, book. In it, means in the revelation. In this revelation of Quran, in the revelation. In the ayah, the surah. In the surah, the ayah, the whole text, the whole text of Quran. In it is, now, if it was talking about the Quran as the book, as in the book itself, it wouldn't be had, it would be fihi. Because kitab is not feminine. It would be fihi. But it's not talking about the book as a book. It's talking about the book as containing all of the other books. Book, plural. And the chapters and verses of Quran are all feminine. The surah is feminine. The ayah is feminine. So this was talking about. It means in the context of the scripture, from Fatiha to An-Nas. In the full context of Quran, from the Fatiha to An-Nas, is where we find all of these books. The Kutubun Qayyim. From the very beginning of the Quran is correcting what was before, mistakes in what was before. From the very beginning. The very first words of revelation to Mohammed set it straight to that. Iqra, read in the name of the Lord and read. And to the end of that, those first 5 verses that came to the prophet, correcting the picture. He had Kutubun Qayyimah. Now look at the word Qayyimah. Yes. Look at the word Qayyimah. Qayyimah is given as, and here it says, I want to use the English just as he has it here. Wherein our books, here Qayyimah is given as right and straight, right? Now, do we have any word close to that already? Yes. Surah al-Mustaqim. Surah al-Mustaqim. And the Fatiha. The path that is straight, right and straight. Mustaqim is also derived from the same root that this word is derived from. Qayyimah. Mustaqim. Qayyimah. But also to stand. Qama, stand up straight, is also derived from the same root. You see? To stand up straight. And the Prophet Ibrahim, his place where he stood, and we have to stand there too when we make our prayer there like he did, is called Maqam Ibrahim. Hanifa. The place, the standing place of Abraham, peace be upon him, the prophet, who was upright in his nature. Hanifa. Upright, straight, direct in his nature. Ibrahim Hanifa. So here we have all these terms derived from the same root. And also we have, for people, we call people called. People are called. My people call me. My people call. Derived from the same. And then we have this religion that is called the religion of man in the nature, in his nature, created by God. It is the religion of man in his nature. Man in the nature created by God. By Allah. So we are free in our minds because we are thinkers. We are free thinkers. We are free in our minds to adopt behavior. To adopt behavior. To copy behavior. To copy imitate others and things, and take on a behavior that is not the behavior that God created us with. But the behavior God created us with, it is the upright Hanifa. That's the Hanifa that God gives credit the prophet. He attributes to the prophet Abraham the Hanifa. That was his form. He was in that behavior. He was in that behavior that God intended for him. Now, so that behavior is what makes the place of Abraham so important to us, because he was established in that behavior. So the place where he prayed is the place that is remembered, right? You have to remember that. On the pilgrimage, we go there and do our circles around the Kaaba, make us a walk, and then we go and we pray for Abraham. Pray for Abraham. To say we have reconciled our spirit with the habits that God wanted for us. And now we are ready to stand where Abraham stood. We are ready to stand in the position that Abraham stood, in the upright position, in the Hanifa form, in that Hanifa form. Kutubun Qayyimah. So call. You can go to the board too late. 24, so you can copy it. Kaum is people. Kaum means people, from the same word. Now, I started this little discussion we made here today. It's a big discussion. It's going to be short. It's short in time, but this is a big discussion, believe me. I started this discussion by bringing it to our attention that the prophet was a member of a people that had not received scripture before. So they could not readily appreciate expressions like in the Quran or books in their correct form, or right form, right and pure. They couldn't appreciate that. Now, the term kaum means people. And people now in Arabic, people in Arabic is a derived word from the same root that standing erect comes from. See how Arabic is? Arabic was chosen. Arabic is no accident that the prophet had to be an Arab. There's no accident. The prophet had to be an Arab because the Arabic is the best language. The Arabic is the best language. It is the language that contains the purest history of the language of man in his right nature. Even though it was the language of the people who were fathers from the light. They were far from the light, but the language was still the purest of languages existing on earth at that time. And even today, even more so today. It was the purest of the languages that carried the history, or held the history of the nature of man that God created. So here is term, people, the same term, also can be traced to the upright nature that God has for the upright nature. Because qayyimah coming from the same root. Qayyimah coming from the same root. Mustaqim coming from the same root. Iqam salat. Aqid salat coming from the same root. Aqid salat. Now it's time to stand for prayer. Coming from the same root. Now let's go back to the Bible, the scriptures before. Many places in the Bible it talks of the people of God as the standing people. And the reference I have in mind now is the one that says, "My people are standing water." Standing water. Standing water is expressing the Bible. Standing water. Now, you know, water can stand still, but it's easily disturbed. So are we. We can stand still, but we're easily disturbed. So that description is so beautiful. That's a poetic description of the human sensitive makeup. People are standing water. How standing? Another place in the Bible refers to the people as standing trees. Are trees standing by the water? Right? Trees standing by the water. Standing trees. And trees seem to most stand up and rest, right? Oh, yes. Most of them have straight posture. Standing trees. People have standing trees. Standing tree is well balanced. Well balanced. It balances itself by branching off. Branching off. It balances itself like a man holds his arms out to get better balance. Tightrope walker. He holds his hands out like that to get better balance on the tightrope instead of walking tightrope. Helps him balance. And the tree stretches out like that with his branches, his arms, and it balances his weight so that it is equally distributed all around him so that the perpendicular is not strained. Yeah, the vertical is not strained. Yeah, so this is how God made man in his symmetry. Different. He made us in our symmetry. Like the tree in its symmetry. Yeah. Upright. Small bottom to stand on. Small area to stand on. A good reach outward, but it's balanced. The left arm is the length of the right arm. If not, the difference is so small, it doesn't affect the balance. Right. But it wouldn't be balanced if the left arm was half the length of the right arm. Right. It would make the balance a little difficult. Kutubun Kayima. But what is the big issue here? The big issue is this, that the best that man can be is what God created. Man should be looking for something outside of himself. Man should be trying to discover what's inside of himself. That's the big issue. Man is not to imitate animals. They're inferior to him. Man is not to imitate plants and things. They're inferior to him. In their excellence, they are just a reference to something God made in him. God resides in him. They're just a reference to something God made in him. So God made everything outside as a language too. Made us, as God said before us. Made us and everything outside of us as a language. As a language. Each thing is a concept. And a concept is a language, a form of language. And a concept has a message. Right? Yes. A concept has a complete message. Every concept has a complete message. It is nothing but a grain of sand. It has a complete message in one grain of sand. Yes, it is. Because scientifically, tell me what grain of sand is. You want to give me a complete message. Right? Let's talk science. Tell me what a grain of sand is and use scientific expression. You're going to give me a complete message on a grain of sand. See? So that's what I'm saying. Everything that exists is a complete message in itself. Yes. And that's the language that God wrote when he wrote creation. When he created things, he was writing. He created the whole universe as a script. Isn't that what he said? Yes. God said that, not me. Don't look at me like that. God said that. He said there's going to come a time when he's going to take all this creation and he's going to take it back. And how he said he's going to take it back? He's going to take it back and roll it up as if it was a scroll. Because that's what it is. It's the writing of God. Message of God. to us, to man, to the mind, intellect, of conscience of man.
Yes. So see that